Filipino American. I was born in LA. I grew up in New Jersey, New York area, and for the last 10 years, I have been doing business here in the Philippines. One thing is, and you can agree with me or not, who finds Philippine politics entertaining? Yes? Let me hear it. Yes or no? Yes, it is entertaining, I tell you. It's one of the best shows on earth, I have to tell you. There's intrigue, there's confusion. I find myself scratching my head a lot saying, really, that happened? Okay, that stated, I'll tell you another statement. A nation's leaders is a direct reflection of the people. A strong people will elect strong leaders. A weak people will bring forth weak leaders. What does that say about us? I say this because we face one of the most critical times in terms of selecting the next generation of leaders upcoming in 2016. But we have a problem. One of our problems today is censorship. Censorship in the sense that people are keeping themselves quiet. Now, since 2011, the U.S. Pinoys and a number of organizations, including Akbayan, including religious organizations that have stepped up to the plate, the first call to action was to make the international community aware that there was something happening between China and the Philippines. You see, back then, if you didn't realize this, when I was in New York, I would read the newspaper and they talked about the South China Sea issue and they would say, something, something, China, oil, Vietnam. And they would forget about the Philippines. Meanwhile, they were ready to install near Palawan. Did that make any sense? Philippines was quiet. So, we made some noise. The call to action was to go ahead and say, hey guys, there's something happening with the Philippines. It was for international media. Then protests took place to say, hey, look, Then protests took place to make a call out against the Chinese government and say, hey, step back, stop being a bully. The next call was for international support. Everybody, we need your help. And now we make a different call. You see, one of the challenges is since then, we have also approached many of the leaders here, politicians, CEOs, artists, and something very interesting came up for many years, up till now. And that very fact is that there are many organizations and individuals that would like to speak up on top of this issue, but they are hindered because they are financially tied to Chinese interests. You have corporations here that will say, please back off. We have Chinese investors. We have Chinese clients. We have artists that will say our management companies are managed and sponsors coming from Chinese companies. And we have politicians coming up for election who need campaign funds, who will tell you, well, you know, some of our funds are from Chinese-supported corporations and linked to China, etc. I mean, I just saw Vice President Binay go in the news talking about how China is the source of our capital answers. We need them. That tells you exactly, you know, where we are at as a country. When you have an armed man going in front of you, loading a gun up with bullets, island after island, bullet after bullet, while you know he's going to rob you and your family, and you sit there watching him load the gun. What do? What should we do? And we end up in a situation where right outside our waters, it's not just the Chinese there, it's not just the United States Navy there. You have 30,000 troops escalating to more with Japan ships coming in, Australia in there. You have Russia coming in. You have multiple navies entering into these waters. The last week of articles and headlines, both in the Philippines, Asia, and in the United States media, have mentioned the South China Sea and the word war. Nobody wants to say or look forward to such a thing. But that is the dire fact. And now that you know for a fact that we have a community here that is tied to Chinese interests and cannot speak properly, outright. You have politicians that cannot speak outright, where up till now, it took up till May 2015 to actually have a Senate conversation, an inquiry into the West Philippine Sea activity. And until then, after all these years, no activity in terms of official positions between congressmen and senators on a majority level to actually address this issue. And elections are coming up. An opportunity is coming up. That opportunity is basically looking at the context of what could happen if we select the wrong leadership now. There is no surprise on this planet, in this generation, that you should not be aware of. Oil has been a #1 war issue. It is not unfathomable that they would go and escalate and take action over such a topic. And so knowing that we have not only billions and trillions of dollars of oil and natural gas right outside our borders in our territory, is it such a surprise or unfathomable that military escalation and perhaps a conflict where these countries that are well prepared and the Philippines militarily is not, where we would get stuck in the middle? If we select the wrong leadership, it determines the fate of our country for future generations. The critical time is now.